Richard Fuller.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. Just a couple of points, if I may. On the issues of Pillar 2 and the moving forward of the government's policy on this in Clause 21 and Schedule 12, and that obviously relates to changing the decision makers on the taxation rates for multinationals operating in this country from the British government, elected by the British people, to an international organisation and their determinations through treaty. As we move forward, it's important to be aware of context and changing context, and honourable members on both sides, certainly on this side, have raised in the past the issue of who else is coming along for this particular minimum tax global party. We already know that one of the major economic actors in the world, China, is not part of the OECD, will not be complying with this, will not be part of these regulations. I'm interested in any update the Minister has on views about China on this. And second of all, it's clear that there will be an election in the United States later this year, and that there is a significant difference in opinion between the Republican Party and the Democrats about whether they will enact the USA's part in Pillar 1, particularly in Pillar 2, taxation policies. So given that there is a reasonable, some may say better than 50-50 chance, that there may be a change in administration in November this year, and the United States would then potentially withdraw from participation in the OECD process, can the Minister, in his summing up, give some reassurance to those of us on this side of the House, although always supportive of the Prime Minister, that may just want to make sure that we have clarity on what we would do in the eventuality that neither of the two major economies in the world, the United States nor China, are taking part in this particular global minimum tax from multinationals. I'd also be interested, and maybe not from the dispatch box, but maybe separately with the taxation minister, to understand in the Treasury and the HMRC, where is the definition of certain words moving when it comes to tax avoidance and tax evasion? Because I recall from many years ago that the clarity of the difference was that tax evasion was illegal and tax avoidance was within the law, but maybe not what HMRC wanted to happen. It wasn't the intention, but it was legal. But we see in the bill, the finance bill, there are references to tax avoidance that implies that it's illegal. And I just worry that we haven't got clarity, and there isn't sufficient clarity from HMRC's perspective on the difference between tax evasion, legal, and tax avoidance, tax evasion illegal, and tax avoidance legal but perhaps not desirable. And perhaps the Minister could just give some clarity on that, because he'll be aware, all the front bench will be aware in the Treasury, about the persistence of concerns about loan charge and other aspects of tax avoidance schemes, which the HMRC has then taken to court, won certain court actions, but then decided that they will blanket some solutions on cases where there've never been a finding of fact in a court on those particular schemes. And the question I have, the specific question I have on that is, and I hope this is within the scope, Madam Chairman, but if not, you'll tell me if not, is why haven't we brought the HMRC's approach on tackling loan charge to a conclusion? It has gone far too long. People have been pursued for far too long in an area that is far too grey for many people, and it would be interesting if the Minister have an update for that. And thirdly, can I commend the Shadow Minister? I didn't like his first speech in the first section today, but this I thought he was a very, very good speech, very reasonable. But he made a very important point, which I'm sure the government will want to look at, which is on the failure to comply notices and the requirements for, I think in the references that he was making, the third party has said for some sort of judicial reference before those failure to comply notices can be held out. At the moment, in the bill, it basically says the HMRC, undefined, can put out those failure to comply notices, and that really is quite a significant expansion, further expansion of the HMRC's responsibilities. And I think the Shadow Minister made a good point, or referred to a good point, when he said that this needed some more protection for those who might be caught by such notices. So I'm sure the front bench will always listen to points made on either side of the House, but I did think I would just commend that point from the Shadow front bench.